meeting so that minutes can be taken and decisions can then be recorded going forward. So I would also want to take this opportunity to just say that tonight we are going to be discussing two things. We're going to be going through two major things. One is issues around service delivery in the ward. And obviously, I understand there's been frustrations. So basically what I'm going to do is basically unpack exactly what has been. Apologies about that, everyone. I had a quick issue with just the internet this side, but it seems to be sorted out now. Hopefully, we will not be having interruptions in between. So, as I was saying, that the other issues, I understand there's been issues that have been raised over time. And with those issues, I'll obviously be addressing all the service delivery issues and unpacking exactly what has been done on my end as the ward councillor. And secondly, I'll be taking you through the proposed budget. Now, what I mean by that is that every year around this time, we go through the proposed budget. It is something that is expected, not only expected of government to do, but I always feel that when it comes to public participation, it is something that I want to encourage people to take part in and make sure that they have their say in the proposed increased tariffs as well, or what they think of the increased tariffs and what they expect from the increased tariffs, as well as obviously speaking on the proposed budget itself. The budget is going to include obviously the overall view of how the municipality stands, as well as how it impacts us. Do apologize for that. Sandra, I do see your hand, but I'm not going to take it now. You can take it down. I do see your hand. And then we're obviously going to just accept a few people. And then if I can just, okay, that's a name. Sorry, I thought there wasn't a name on Highway. So Sandra, we do see you, and we do see that you might be having issues with your audio, as well as Peter, as well as Hayes, Galaxy A30. So what you may want to do from time to time, if you could just log out and then log back in and see if that you can get that going. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch off my video just to assist with the bandwidth, because we seem to be having a lot of breaks in terms of the internet. And without wasting any time, I'm going to start with the presentation, or with the meeting, where we're going to be discussing both the IDP and service delivery issues affecting the ward. Okay, so obviously, as you can see, the purpose of this meeting is to, as I've said, discuss both the IDP of the area as well as service delivery the service delivery in the ward. With this in mind, I just want to actually point out that what I'm going to share here is going to give you background, especially on the side of the service delivery stuff. You are going to be given a background on everything. So, as well as helping you understand exactly what needs to be done and why it needs to be done. And I think sometimes it's very easy or very quick to just give a quick comment in between. But I think it's very important that we understand exactly where is what and how it needs to fit into the whole picture. Right, now we're going to start with service delivery issues. Now, in Ward 38, the long-standing issues that we have is that of roads infrastructure that requires resurfacing. And obviously of late, we've seen the potholes as being part of the long-standing issues in the ward. And then we also have streetlights that need to be fixed on a regular basis. Some of them haven't been fixed in a long time. So hence it reflects here as well. We've got a sewer infrastructure that has been going on for some time. And of late, we've had power outages in Brackenhurst Extension 2. And I'm sure some of the residents from there are here. I hope they are here or watching on Facebook. We're going to touch on that. I've also included crime in the area. That is just a note to say, because I'm not really going to go deep into crime. It might be linked to streetlights, but or in terms of the IDP, you might see it there, but in terms of the issues that we are dealing with on an ongoing basis, crime is one of them. Now, what is my role as a ward councillor in addressing these issues? First of all, as a councillor, my role is to perform oversight on the work of the municipality. What that means is that my role is to ensure that the municipality has the resources and is able to, or resources in terms of equipment and so forth. Also in terms of having the budget to attend to service delivery issues. So, and then secondly, is to also work with various departments to determine if they have sufficient budget to deliver the service. Escalating long-standing issues with various offices, as well as using the IDP. So the reason why I'm mentioning this too is because sometimes we have a long-standing issue so long and it requires a major budget that we have to send it through to council through the IDP process so that the issue can be resolved. Because if you don't have budget, you simply cannot deliver service. Advocating on behalf of residents for issues to be addressed within a specific turnaround time. This gets done regularly, more regularly than council meetings, because what we do when people report on issues, what I do is I actually take note, very close note, as to how often the issue has been reported and how long it takes to resolve. Let me use a case in study in the example of Brackenhurst Extension 2. There was, I know, like very much recently, a power outage. What I My apologies, everyone. I'm just getting back everything and putting it back up. I think it's one of those evenings where suddenly I'm experiencing more technical issues or network issues than usual. I do apologize for that. And I do apologize for everyone on Facebook. Just for everyone on Facebook, just please note that I do see the comments, but I'm not going to respond to them immediately. I'm going to do the presentation and start with questions for everyone, yours as well as the guys on Zoom. That if you can just continue. Obviously, we're addressing the roads infrastructure. So what I've done so far is the identified roads were reported through the ward committee. This dates as back as 2020. You can imagine how frustrating or it can get even for me dealing with issues that are dating as far back as 2020 to try and resolve. But it's things that that need to happen on a regular basis or relentlessly, because if we don't do that, then obviously we'll never actually get to conclusion. Questions to council were submitted to get clarity on the challenges the department is facing. This is done so that as a councillor, I can also, as part of my sorry about that. As I was saying, this is part of as part of my oversight role as a ward councillor to continue making sure that the department have resources in order to do their work. Because if the issue is budget, it doesn't matter how many times we scream and shout. If there's no budget, there simply is no budget. And the only solution to a budgetary problem is to actually get budget. So, and then obviously written letters to various departments, especially the roads department, trying to implore them to like say, look, this has been ongoing. For example, what we've established is that most of the roads in Brackenhurst and Brackendowns in particular haven't been resurfaced for over 30 years. Some of them haven't been resurfaced, I think, since they were actually ever established. I might be incorrect, but it seems like that. And unfortunately, the Roads and Stormwater Department did not give timelines. What we always try and do is to look at timelines, even if it's perceived timelines, and they indicate that it's not a definite. You're going to excuse me. What I'm going to do now is that what I'm now doing is I'm now going to join using both of my devices so that we don't have a break every single time I have a break in terms of the the internet giving us issues. So to get some sort of continuity, I'm gonna be using both devices. I think that's the only way that I can actually continue tonight. I do apologize for that. I know it's inconveniencing from time to time if we have to stop and start every single time. Right now, some of the challenges experienced in terms of the roads department, lack of budget as one of the main contributors. Now, what does lack of budget really mean? So it doesn't mean there's like no money at all. What it actually means is that there's no budget, there's very little budget, let me not say no budget, there's limited budget allocated towards roads department in terms of addressing all of its issues. For example, if we have potholes, obviously there has to be a budget that addresses potholes as well as that department. Now, even with that limited budget, what we have is also the budget being shared with other areas. So we don't have a budget that only speaks to Brackenhurst and Brackendowns. We've got a budget that Alberton North, Mayberry Park, Albertsdale, Meyersdale, as well as places like Eden Park and Tokoza. So like that big cluster area is sharing the same budget. So that's where the challenge then comes in terms of the addressing issues using the budget. So now, that's what's causing the problem. And also what makes the problem even worse is the high demand from other areas. Now, doesn't mean Brackenhurst and Brackendowns is not bad. It is very bad. However, you've got other areas that actually need much more than what Brackenhurst and Brackendowns is. So that really puts a spanner in the works in terms of resurfacing, as well as like recently potholes. Now, responses from the department, I have to say, even as a councillor, I don't find them satisfactory. And the reason why I say this, the reality of the matter is that it's very, basic or it's very vague in terms of, for example, I would ask, okay, can we please get an assistant with this road? Okay, we will get it done. There's no when it will be done, or, even if somebody were to give an honest answer to say, Councillor, we cannot do this one because of XYZ, right? So, and then what is the next steps that we're going to take? Now, obviously, I can't just say, well, budget is not there, what's the next steps? So the next step is, like you would have seen in today, I think yesterday I've sent out, and the people have received feedback from me today. I've sent out a register for potholes. So like this is, first of all, we say, right, for long-standing potholes, MMC, this is the issue. And I know the answer might be, yes, Councillor, we know it's the entire area. But the reason why I'm sending it through to the MMC is to say, MMC, this is where the areas are in Brackenhurst and Brackendowns, so that when they are ready to fill in potholes, they know exactly where to go. It's something that we will have readily on my system to say, you don't have to go and check on the call center system. We have it ready for you, and it can be much quicker. It can be done much quicker, and you can get the responses much quicker. And obviously, I'm highlighting the need to address the potholes within the department. Now, the reason why I say this is because it's not sustainable for the city to keep saying there is no budget, because my thought process then goes into, okay, hang on. If, let's say, a person's tires gets damaged and they claim from the municipality, and the municipality actually has to pay because of the damaged tire, the reality of the matter is that the municipality will have to find budget to pay for the damages of residents on their cars. And on top of that, they will still need to find budget to fill in potholes. So I think it has to be something that the municipality has to look at. But also, what is even more important is that if a pothole is reported and 6 days later is not filled or fixed, the fact of the matter is that that department is not reaching its key performance indicators. And right now, roads department is really doing really badly. And I know the rain has been used as one of the reasons why it's a problem to address the whole potholes. As much as that can be true, we at least need to see something. We at least need to see a movement. Would rather see a pothole being filled or being fixed, and then later we then see it reopen again and we report it again. I think that probably will be a better devil than not seeing the same pothole being open and widening over time. Now, also, and I know some people might not be favorites of this, but we need to also partner with business as well as civil society. And that's something that we cannot ignore. And however, this obviously has to follow council processes. We have to submit the names and make sure that the names are submitted within council, and the people are given permission to fill in potholes. For example, and obviously based on the agreement that you have with council. For example, a business A can say, look, councillor, we can't do your entire ward, but we can do 2 streets. And I think that's the point that where I'm trying to, for us to move into. While we hold council to account on the one side, we also have to say, we can't keep holding council to account forever and the potholes still not filled. We also need to see who else can we use within the same community. It helps if it's the same community, because then what we can then do is oh, okay, it's people that are taking ownership of that. So I'll be speaking to you. So if you're a business person or if you're a civil organization that you want to assist us in this, please speak to me, and then we can really have a chat around this. So obviously, including issues of major reconstructions, that's part of it, because if we don't maintain our roads, in general, we're going to have a problem with a long-term pothole problem. So like we need to, obviously, the first thing is that we need to obviously, as a long-term, right now, obviously, we need to fill potholes, but as a longer term, we need to actually resurface our roads. We need to reconstruct our roads where necessary, so that we don't have a problem of potholes as much as we are having it right now. Now, streetlights, issues around the priority streetlight was raised with the Office of the MMC for Energy, Water and Sanitation. This was done because from time to time, when there's a squeeze on the Department of Energy, streetlights tend to take a backseat. Now, this is where it actually, as much as from the department's point of view, they don't view streetlights as a safety, primarily a safety source. However, the reality of the matter is that if you have streets that are dark, the fact of the matter is that you are going to have problems in a long run, I beg your pardon, in terms of making sure that these streets need to be filled. I mean, they need to be lit so that the communities are safer. And that from my side, it's something that we really need to look at. And that's something that I'm really pushing as a ward councillor, to make sure that streetlights are really addressed, and we want to find solutions that work in the long run as well. So obviously there was a petition a while back also to implore the department to prioritize on the streetlights. Unfortunately, they didn't respond to that. We're still waiting even today, and that's something that is unfortunate. We also deal with unresponsive departments, and that really is the biggest frustration even for residents. Budgetary challenges discussed with the department, and this has been more on this year. Previously, the priority has been on the COVID side, but like now the budget, with the limited budget that the department has, then streetlights also become a problem. Now, following an adjustment budget, there was a slight improvement with allocating funds to repair streetlights, but that obviously is nowhere near enough. So what do we do now? So these are some of the challenges that we face. So the Energy Department currently needs to increase on prioritizing on streetlights, because it's a no-brainer. They need to start doing that. If they don't do that, I think we want to give people confidence of the area they live in. One of the things that really break my heart that I usually hear is people saying they don't want to live here anymore. Not because it's time for them to look for some other place, but they don't feel the confidence of living in this area. Obviously, we've got a strained electricity infrastructure resulting in department prioritizing on repairing of streetlights. That is a reality, because as much as, yes, we want to also prioritize on streetlights, we must also acknowledge the fact that, in the homes, that's where we also need the lights. We also need the lights in homes. So that we find ourselves in a catch-22. But that's where the commitment that we need to have to say, we can't keep choosing one over the other. We have to choose both of them at the same time and find ways to do that. Limited budget available towards repairing streetlights. So obviously that speaks to that. And Energy Department taking too long to respond to issues raised. As I've said, that obviously creates a lot of problem. And I always try and explain this with something that really I feel like I need to urge to say, departments, even if the answer is no, tell me that the answer is no. Then we know we've got problems. Then I know that as per my role as a councillor, then I can go to higher offices like of the city manager, of the mayor or the MMC to say, let's give departments resources so that they can be able to do their job. So what do we do next? Obviously, like the way we've done with the pothole register, we'll also have a streetlights register. You should get a streetlight register tomorrow, fill in. I must also stress, please, residents, let's report issues that have been reported via the call center on the app or via the phone, and you've got a reference number. And the reason why I'm asking for this is not because I want to be difficult, it's because we want to ensure that the checks and balances are being looked after. Because if I just report it and they say, well, for all they know, the streetlights just went off. So we want to make sure that we highlight the fact that the streetlights has been off for much longer than they are expected to repair it. All right. And also, if we do report it on the app, it becomes very difficult for us to hold departments to account to addressing issues within service level agreement that they set even for themselves. Okay, and then obviously including the MMC. Now the other thing is that they're requesting the MMC's office to always consider the streetlight to be a priority. So like that obviously is an ongoing thing. It's something that they came back to me and explained why it's not a priority, but as much as I understand that, I think we have to find ways to increase the priority on streetlights more than anything. And then obviously imploring departments to respond monthly and on time. Now, the sewer infrastructure has been going on for much longer than 2011. I think I only started knowing about this issue from 2011, 2016 term of office. In the council at that time was Cllr. But I believe it's also been much longer. And now, since the 2016, the upgrading of the sewer has always been on top priority. And this is not relentless until we see the day that the work to actually upgrade starts. Then we will obviously move that and make afford other priorities on the IDP. So various stages to address the issue have been actioned. So that's the positive, is that we have seen the department actually start, doing something in terms of investigating exactly the extent of the damage and what it would require to actually upgrade the system. So we've obviously submitted a number of petitions to implore council to allocate funds, and again, council acting very slowly. Something that we will obviously have to address as well is for the whole thing to be addressed, the whole response time to be addressed with council. Okay, obviously the challenges has been like for a long time, since I think 2011, there hasn't been budget allocated. We've only started seeing some budget starting to be allocated from about 2016 or 2017 to be more precise. So like that's a positive from this. But also part of what drains the system is our usage, or the usage of residents, is that the residents themselves need to also start looking at not throwing foreign objects into sewer lines. There have been some really strange things found in the sewer lines. And again, this might be a building plans issue that people bypass from time to time, is that we have rainwater being diverted, and we see how it happens, is that like where the catchment of rainwater is not big enough, so the rainwater ends up going into the sewer line, and that obviously causes a lot. That's why you see a lot of sewer lines popping up during rainy seasons. Obviously, the completion of the project in terms of investigation was hampered by not necessarily COVID, but the lockdown. Obviously, the restrictions of the lockdown meant that in March 2020, the guys could not do the investigation. And soon after they couldn't do the investigation, their contract ended. So they couldn't pick up where they left off when the restrictions became easier. So the department right now is in the process of allocating budgets to address the sewer infrastructure. You'll see later in the meeting what I'm referring to is that there is a substantial budget that's been allocated towards not only the sewer infrastructure, but the water infrastructure as well. New contractors are expected to be appointed in addressing the infrastructure shortfalls. So like I said, the previous contract ended, so now the contractors are going to be appointed again. And through myself as a ward councillor, will continue to implore the sanitation department to give regular updates as to where they are. I think right now where we are is that they almost wait for us to tell them what is the update, and then only they respond. And then, of course, unfortunately, this might not be the most favorable point, but residents, please, let's keep reporting these issues. I know it's frustrating sometimes when we don't get a responsive call center, but I do want to ask that we please continue using this as a platform. Now, in Brackenhurst Extension 2, and I'm sure a number of you will definitely attest with me that this has been a very frustrating time. Recently, like almost feels like every 2 weeks or every week you have a power outage. More especially, it seems, touch wood, I hope it doesn't happen again, that it almost seems like every long weekend you have this. So these are the issues that we face, and I think in terms of Brackenhurst Extension 2, it's unique in the fact that for a very long time we've had a very reasonably stable supply of energy. So, but now obviously it's starting to be something that's being of a concern. So also we've also alerted the MMC to say like Brackenhurst Extension 2. While it wasn't a hotspot anymore, now it is a hotspot. Okay, so what are the challenges? Part of the challenges, like every other place, the rolling blackouts that we are having on a regular basis, they are actually impacting our system. Because I'm sure anyone who is a technical person would know and would tell you that switching on and off during load shedding is not actually sustainable for the infrastructure. It's actually damaging to the infrastructure. So one has to even ask Eskom why they would insist on something like this that is clearly damaging, because as much as the cost to do repairs, it won't be on Eskom, it will be on the municipalities. And when I say municipalities, it will be on you, the resident. Okay. So obviously, and also what makes a problem for the extension is that usually it's with other areas in Alberton. And the reason why I say this is because of the large amount of vacant posts which are funded but are not filled. So obviously we need to address those things. Like you've got vacant posts, but you've got the money to actually pay the people. And we also have to address the issue of people actually vandalizing the infrastructure. Now, I do know that, and I'm going to speak to fourth dimension, I think security, who have infrastructure in certain substations. So we want to ask them if they want to, maybe don't want to put more cameras in more substations to help with this as well. So you will hear, the reason why I say all of these things is because we need to move beyond just relying on government, because it's quite clear. I had a conversation today with a resident. I said, The honest truth is that government can never have, especially local government, can never have enough money to do everything. So at some point, we have to see, even ourselves as residents, how do we partner with government to ensure that we live in great areas? So those are the kind of things that we also need to look at. So now, we've discussed the service delivery issues. Before I go on to the budget, I think this is a good time for me to, I'm just gonna allow us to take a 5-minute break. And then I'm going to address all the questions that were asked during the service delivery section. Until we do that, let me just quickly make sure that we are ready.
God, we stand in your presence. We need more of you. With open hearts and your will that commands us, we'll do what you do. Do 1,000 fall at our right hand and 10,000 at our side. There is nothing that could shake us, 'cause in you we will abide. Nothing's gonna stop us now. We are the people of God, and this is His hour. Lifting up the King of Kings, to you our praises we bring. Jesus. A desert wasteland, crying out to you, holding on 'cause we promised people, we know your word is true. Though 1,000 fall at our right hand and 10,000 at our side, there is nothing that could shake us, 'cause in you we will abide. Nothing's gonna stop us now. We are the people of God, and this is His hour. Lifting up the King of Kings, to you our praises we bring. Jesus. All of the great things that you will do through us, we will lift you up, Lord God, we will lift you up. For all of the great things that you will do through us, we will lift you up, Lord God, we will lift you up. For all of the great things that you will do through us, we will lift you up, Lord God, we will lift you up. For all of the great things that you will do through us, we will lift you up, Lord God, we will lift you up. Nothing's gonna stop us now. We are the people of God, and this is His hour. Lifting up the King of Kings.
All right, everyone, let's welcome back. And I managed to get a quick glass drink of water. I hope you managed to do the same on your side. So I'm going to take questions. Let me see here what's going on. All right. Okay, now I'm going to, right. Gerald, I'm going to let you speak after the budget process, if you still want to ask that question. And then I'm going to take Mike. I'm going to allow you to unmute. I know you've posted a question. I'd rather have you speak and take your question. Let's rather do it like that. And then Yaku, I will then take you after Mike. So Mike, if you can just unmute and pose your question.
Hi, Malcolm. Yes, thank you. I just want to know, do we have any idea, maybe the community can make some sort of fundraising event? I know that Cllr Malcolm will probably be delighted to help with that, to arrange something that could get her some publicity as well.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I take that. Yaku, is that it from you, Mike? Before I take Yaku.
That was me. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I did hear you. I'm just trying to confirm if you're done. Okay. All right, let's continue. I think that was Mike from his side. Yaku, are you ready? Yaku, are you ready?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Malcolm, can you hear me? Okay, cool.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Malcolm, you know, for me, it's just sad that we have to go to these extents, you know, to do fundraisers where, you know, you look at all the rates and taxes that one pays, you look at all your sewage that one pays. You know, I did a calculation. I paid over $60,000 in the last year towards Ekurhuleni. And we sit with the state of everything, sewage, potholes, you know, everything is just in a state, man. I want to know, where does our money go to? Why is there no or very little budget, you know, if we are paying every month and it seems like nothing is done, you know?
Okay. All right, let me start with the question by Yaku. That's the first thing that I think I should start with. So Yaku, you're right. Unfortunately, up until now, there's a new proposed system of budgeting that will be put in place hopefully sooner rather than later. This system, the system that we've been using is that everyone who pays rates and taxes, money goes into the same pool. So there isn't money necessarily for Brackenhurst, Brackendowns only. There is like literally money that is being paid, everyone from Kempton Park anyway, all that money goes into the same pool. So that's why you find an incident whereby up until now, so if I can give an example, the recent adjustment budget, and sort of like, unfortunately, it was too late. Obviously, you already have a budget. So the previous budget, which was passed in from the 1st of July last year, did not speak a lot to actual service delivery. And that's the sad thing, is that it spoke to things like, you know, having functions. It spoke to like big, what's this, big projects that really don't speak to direct service delivery. If not disrespecting a department of marketing, but like if you spend too much money on branding and very little on service delivery, you're not actually using your money wisely. So as much as, yes, we want to market the city, but the core function of the city is to actually deliver services. So that's where we find ourselves. Now the adjustment budget, obviously when it came, it sort of like correct that, even though it could not do that completely. What it started doing to say, okay, we no longer need money for so much budget, or if you started a big project, unfortunately, you just have to continue with it because that will be us wasting money. So what now we are looking at is to say, let's move away from big projects. Now let's start talking about the basics of what local government does. And that is obviously things like fixing sewer infrastructure, filling potholes when they are done, and all of these other service delivery requests that we have on a regular basis. So that's why, yes, you pay, and I agree with you. You and I mean, I also pay. I shouldn't just say you. We all pay, and unfortunately, we don't even see really where that money goes. It's because it's being shared across the entire city. But now this new system that they're trying to introduce from the executive side is to say, right, it might not be completely to say Brackenhurst only, but you might find that to say, let's ring fence money that is paid in Alberton going to Alberton. So like in, maybe not completely, but a large amount of it goes to Alberton. And I think that's where the problems will then start happening. I mean, start being solved. To say, when I say Alberton, I'm including places such as Thokoza and Eden Park, because they're obviously a cluster. And the reason why it includes places like Thokoza and Eden Park is because you can understand that in certain areas, you've got more ratepayers than others. Sometimes it could, in fact, most of the time, not sometimes, it's literally a case of the matter of that some people really are that destitute that they cannot afford. But at the same time, obviously, we're looking at there are people who claim to be destitute, meanwhile they can actually afford to address, pay for their way. So that's one. I see there's Lulama who's raised her hand.
Malcolm, can I just say something?
Okay.
Thank you for taking
quickly,
the time to explain this.
Yeah.
I just want to make this one last point before I'm going to let you go. I'm surprised to hear that you say that you guys are marketing, or I don't know who is marketing the city, and that it sounds, and I stand to be corrected, like there is a lot of money that goes towards branding and marketing of the city. Which really surprises me, because if you have a city with sewage systems that works perfectly, roads that is clean, pavements that is clean, no potholes, the city will market itself. If you're going to market a city where the roads are full of sewage and potholes, you are wasting the money. So
I agree. I agree with you. And
it also sounds to me like there's people that are supposed to be allocating budget who maybe are not qualified enough to do this properly.
Look.
So just my point of view.
I completely agree with you, because what you're saying makes perfect sense. Because if I can say this, I use marketing as an example. These other things, of course.
I got you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I use that as an example of money wasted, because I agree with you. It's wasting of money. What's the point of in this big event that seeks to market and you don't even do it properly? Like, even if you were to ask me how that money was spent, like, it was a waste. So you, number one, wasted the money on what you're trying to do in the first place. Number two, you have wasted money because you're not doing the basics right. So this is why then we then say the new term of office, say, right, let's rather do the basics right. And once we do the basics right, then maybe if we have the basics right after a few years, then we can start talking about all these big dreams that we want to have. But we cannot have big dreams if we still have sewer on the streets. Lulama, you wanted to say something?
Oh, yes, hi. Good evening to everyone. I just wanted to ask, so do schools fall under service delivery, like public schools in our area?
Okay, sorry, Lulama, I didn't quite hear you there.
Oh, okay, let me just.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear. I can hear you better now.
Oh, okay then. I just wanted to first. I just wanted to ask. Do things like public schools in our area fall under service delivery?
Oh, okay. No, thanks.
Like, I mean, it's a public
Yeah.
school. Like,
Yeah. I hear you. So what schools unfortunately fall under local, not local government, provincial government. So, but having said that, it doesn't mean we can't do anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It doesn't mean we can't do anything. We can just obviously refer whatever issues you may have to the relevant sphere of government.
I just wanted to ask if, like, for example, within Brackenhurst, why are the schools so much more expensive? I mean, like, it is a public school at the end of the day, but I mean, like, say now I'm not working and I want to I cannot afford school here. I cannot afford transport on top of that to take my child to a cheaper school somewhere else. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just wanted to know why. I heard that there are people that say it depends. There's a quadrant school or first quadrant school. I'm not sure. So, but what makes it a public school? What doesn't make it a public school?
I think the best would be to take it offline, like, because then obviously I will then obviously need to refer it to people in province, because with me I won't have an answer right now. As much as I would love to have an answer,
okay.
I wouldn't have an answer right now. Okay, I'm going to, let's see. I've taken.
Malcolm, did you hear my question?
Was it
Don't
yours?
forget me again. You want to forget me again? It's Michael.
Oh, Mike. Yes, Mike. Can you just
my question was, do we have any idea of what monetary value is required to repair the potholes in our area alone, in Ward 38?
Okay. Look,
so
I can always
let's hypothetically speaking. Let me say, I want to pay to fix the potholes. Do you know what that value is?
Okay. So obviously, what I would have, personally, I would have to find that out to exactly what that value would be. I'm sure there's construction companies that will obviously have a better idea as to how much that would be. Once I find that out, like, maybe I can say, okay, this is the monetary value, and then we can maybe look at how we can address it ourselves, even as a community. I know it might not give you the value itself, but yeah. All right, thanks, Mike. Sorry, I think I was
Thanks,
gonna
Malcolm.
yeah, sure. I was gonna have tough time if I forgot you again. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to now take questions on Facebook. All right. Marumo Matibela. I honestly cannot say in terms of what people like. Unfortunately, especially as a councillor, I've got a responsibility to speak on evidence. So I can't say the people don't know or do know what they're doing. There could be reasons why a pothole opened up 3 weeks later. But what I can say, but I did allude to the fact that if it's not because of the rain, I did allude to the fact that we already have roads that need to be reconstructed, and that's a big thing. And then you say the grass is growing on the side blocks the water to flow away and cause a puddle on the road, and then potholes appear. I think you just emphasizing on that point. Okay, and then Jay, you're asking about an email delivery of statement. Jay, I think you were given my email address. If you didn't, it's malcolm.maifala@ekurhuleni.gov.za. I'll give you that one so that I can then maybe find that out for you and assist you in that way. I can then send an email for the department to respond. And then Shane, I'm not sure why your app is not sending you the reference number to your phone, and the complaint is not registered in the apps list. So I don't have, in fact, today I did report something via my app. I didn't have that, but I'll check again tomorrow. But just send me the details as well. I'm always willing to just, take it up with the IT guys. Obviously, that will take it up with the IT guys to do that. And then obviously, you mentioned that we should obviously look at security companies. Yes, definitely. We'll work with not just a few companies that I've spoken about, but we'll look at all companies to assist with that. And then Karen, so like you say, check us to upkeep the Atmore, the park at Atmore Park. Yes, I think the Atmore Park. So Karen, I think I will then obviously need to, I was probably not the council at that time because I don't remember that. So if you can maybe get me in contact with the managers there, and then let's see what we can do. If they want to still upkeep their park, then we can allow them. So, okay, the grass cutting along Cllr River Road and Sarkopies, that intersection, Cllr River Road and Sarkopies is unfortunately Joburg, falls under Joburg. And I think I saw something about casting on Cllr River. So Cllr River is a provincial road, but yes, that was from you, Shane Hin, where you said Cllr River Road as well. Along Cllr River Road, the grass. So depending on where it is, we can obviously, if it's on Cllr River on our side, we can always call province and ask province to assist us with cutting the grass, because that part of Cllr River actually belongs to them. Right. I'm now going to continue. I will try and do justice to the budget. But at the same time, not waste time on discussing the budget, because it's just as important, because you need to have a fair opportunity to speak about what you want of the budget, from the budget. Okay. Right. Okay. All right, so now we're going to talk about the IDP budget for 2021-2026. So basically it's a medium term budget. What it really sets out is basically what it really sets out is the next few years of council. So up until 2025, somewhere there. But then there's another medium term that looks at the rest of the 5 years. So now, obviously an IDP, just to explain what an IDP is, if you might not be sure about that, is a document outlining the strategic objectives of the municipality, and it contains the development plan, which covers a 5-year period. Obviously, it includes sector delivery plans and strategy, annual budgeting, resource allocation and project decision-making and feedback to the community. So basically what this means, obviously, it speaks of you identify what are your needs as communities. We as council have to then factor your needs into a budget. And obviously, as we go on, as councillors, we scrutinize quarterly reports that speak to the implementation of all of that. So that's a basic way I can tell you about that. So I'm not going to go into the entire population profile of the city. Just to give an example, we've got a total population of 3.3 million people, and that is in 1.2 households. So we are quite a large city. I think we're just slightly over larger than Tshwane in terms of population. But obviously, what you might be interested in is what your population profile is, what 38 is. In what 38, we've got 25,212 residents, and in 7,203 households. So based on that, you'll see that quite a, like, in terms of number of residents, we're quite big. It's not a small ward. And then obviously, like, out of that, just for interest sake, 53% of the residents obviously are English speaking first language, and 31.8% African speaking. The others I didn't mention because they less than 10%, so I'm not gonna mention that. So in terms of age groups, so 40 to 49, that's the age group that is the largest population at 16%. So that's the largest population that we have in the ward. So that helps you. Who are we delivering for in terms of service delivery? Now, there are some of the priorities where the city wants to spend money. Now, when I'm talking about this is a new administration. So this proposed budget will then come into effect from the 1st of July, 2022. This is later this year. So obviously we're still working with the 2021 budget. So obviously priority being energy, we have to upgrade our energy infrastructure that will obviously also address streetlight issues. Water, as I've alluded to, the city obviously speaks on a bigger scale. I'm not going to mention all the numbers of the city because obviously it doesn't really mean much to you, but it just gives you an idea where the city is looking to spend money on. So obviously roads and stormwater. So again, we speak on rehabilitation of roads. And I think we also need to really address that. And that's one thing that I've really raised vehemently with the executive to say, they need to obviously look very, very, very closely into our areas as well. Transport and fleet, obviously this speaks mostly to the Emerson side as well as Kempton side of things, but that's one of the priorities that they're looking at. And then environment and waste, that's also another issue where we're looking to spend money on. That's a human settlement, obviously at not necessarily relevant in our area, but relevant in areas very close to us. MPD coming to safety. So like there's the metro is looking to deploy an additional 480 municipal police officers to supplement the current force capacity. So I think that will go a long way in terms of bylaw enforcement, because that's one of the things that we look at. Even though they do mention places like Benoni, all those extra 480 officers would obviously translate into other areas as well. Obviously, health and social development in terms of rehabilitation and things like that. So that's where the priority will also lie. Now, yes, finance debt rehabilitation program. So to all ratepayers who pay their accounts and keep them up to date for 12 consecutive months from July 2022 onwards. So what does this mean? It means that from July, that doesn't mean that when you do it now, April, May, June, and then July 2021, you get 2% discount. What it proposes is that for a year, from July 2022, if you pay your account and you maintain it regularly, what then happens is that the city will then say, all right, thank you very much. You are paying on time and you're managing, even if it's your debt, you are managing it very well. Then you get a 2% discount on your debt in terms of rehabilitation. So what this is seeking to do is that we need to obviously collect rates. You'll see why we need to collect rates. So now, this is where we want to encourage people to do that. Obviously, there's something in it for you. Not just saying pay, 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 but there's nothing in it for you, right? And then, so these are our priorities for 2022, 2023. So I think some of you might have caught that public meeting where we discussed this. Hopefully you do remember, where the water system upgrading for Brackenhurst and Brackendowns, which is obviously speaking to the sewer system, water sewer system, obviously. That remains number one. There's a section of Poppy Street which needs to be reconstructed and resurfaced. So we've put, I think in this term, we've put the resurfacing of Poppy Street as well. So the request for street cameras for monitoring crime and traffic obstruction. So obviously we can also work with security companies, but also we want council, like some of you may have lived in Albert long enough to remember that there used to be at traffic lights areas whereby, you know, people could, EMPD, if I can call it that, could pick up where there's issues with traffic lights or with crime in the area. So that's the kind of idea that we have with that. Request for youth entrepreneurship job center, that was requested by young people through the youth sector from previous term, and they kept it going even for this term. And obviously request for abolition facilities at Kalkunki Park. I think why it's Kalkunki Park at this stage, we want to actually use Kalkunki Park as a test, because right now the only parks that get ablution facilities are regional parks such as Jackson Dam. So the reason why this is requested is because you've got braai stands at Kalkunki Park. So obviously, if people go to Kalkunki Park to have a braai and they don't necessarily live around the area, then there's a problem with using bathroom facilities. So hence that is there. And then because police station is outside the ambit of local government, we've also, through the IDP, requested for permanent police stations in Brackendowns. Right now, the current police station, because of the buildings, it tells you that it's actually still a temporary station, even 30 years down the line, more than 30 years, if I can say that. Okay, now in terms of the medium-term expenditure framework, so the capital budget, just to explain what's the difference between a capital budget as well as an operating budget. The capital budget obviously is used to construct and upgrading of roads, libraries, and so forth. Network enhancement, like that's in electricity, and obviously electrifications of houses, like where we need to do. I don't think we have that problem in our ward. we might have a problem of power outages, but we don't necessarily have a problem of houses not having electrification at all. The operating budget is used to fund day-to-day activities of the city. Repairs and maintenance of infrastructure, grass cutting, as well as that. So those are the day-to-day things, like obviously potholes as well. Those are the day-to-day, like that should go into your operating budget. Now, where does our capital budget get funded off? We've got a total of 3.3 billion rand capital budget. So now you will see in this, if you may remember, I don't know if maybe I keep a record because I need to keep a record, is that the capital budget used to be so much more in previous years. And this time it's went down. And I don't think it's a negative thing. I think it's a positive thing. It's because now as a city, we are starting to actually look at spending money on what really matters most. And the reason why I'm saying this is because internally we can generate, if you look at like 8.3% of that amount that's 273.6 million rand is the one that we get generated from our side as a municipality. 2.3 billion is from government grants. This is from other spheres like local, provincial government as well as national. And what I really love about this budget this time around is the fact that we are only wanting to borrow about 22% of our total capital budget. And the reason why this is important, because I always argued in previous years to say, it makes no sense to have a 50% allocation to your capital budget being loans. Well, as much as from one side, yes, it makes sense. If you want to build a road now, it makes sense to take it on a loan, and because obviously over the years, you would have spent less. But what also doesn't make sense is that if it's 50% and every year you're around the 50% mark, is that somewhere, somehow, as a municipality, you must manage or maintain your loan. So now that's why, like, in fact, what government doesn't really say specifically is to say, where do they get the money to maintain their loans? It's actually money from you, because a loan is a loan. You have to pay back, so we've got to be very careful. It's all good and well, and somebody saying we need to build new roads, so our loan allocation needs to be at 70%. Need to like saying, hang on, yeah, sure, no problem. It makes sense in the long run, but is it really making sense really in the long run, or could we do it much better? Obviously, we've got the operating budget, which is 48.1 billion rand. 32.6 of that is from our own budget, and 5.5 billion is from other spheres of government. So the main sources obviously is your corporate rates, electricity, water and sanitation, refuse removal, and other income. So the reason why, where do we get this from, is because we are obviously budgeting on the fact that these are the proposed tariffs. And this is where I become the devil's advocate, because I'm not telling you that you're gonna be paying more for services. So sanitation, there's a proposed increase of 11%, and that's based on increases from ERVAT. Water increase, obviously, as per rainwater increase, that's 11%. Assessment rate stays at 0%. Obviously, we've just had a valuation new evaluation implementation, so that stays at 0%. Energy, so some good news. Eskom did not have their way of trying to increase by 22%. I think it was 22% or 20%, but they are still increasing by 9.61% for you, the user, to buy electricity. So, and then if you bulk purchases, that will be 10% increase. And then obviously there's refuse removal based on, like, you know, the increases from the transfer stations or the guys that have to service for refuse removal, the 7% increase. Now the salary increases. Now some of you might think this is not a good idea, but I would like to think, you know, considering the amount of years that this has not been increased, I think it's a good idea, and I'll tell you why. So there's a 4.8% increase for library and services, library and information services, library auditorium, cemetery and cemeteries and crematoria, building plans, arts, culture, and heritage facilities. So there's 4.8% on each of those. The reason why I say it's a good idea is because previously this used to be funded, like the maintenance of these facilities used to be funded from the assessment rates, from the value, your rates that you pay. So I've always found, like, it really doesn't make sense. As much as you can supplement, I don't have a problem supplementing it, but you can't be relying on your assessment rate or valuation to be paying for the maintenance of library and information centers and so forth. Not saying all together, but the reason why this is welcome is because then these facilities can also generate their own income to maintain themselves so that they don't become a drain on you. Obviously, sports and recreation as well, 4.8%. Higher park facilities also 4.8%. For those who use municipal buses, there's an increase of 3.7% to 13.6%. That's depending on the bus trip that you're taking. And obviously, there's an average of 3.68% in that regard. So we also do give, as a municipality, free basic services to the community. There's 150,000 reduction from property value for assessment rates, and additional rebates to pensioners. So if you're a pensioner, you do qualify for rebates. So if I were a pensioner, I would really definitely be taking full advantage of rebates that I get. And then obviously, there's additional rebates for churches as well as non-governmental organizations, the NGOs. So like those are the free basic services that we also require. So obviously there's an application process for each of these every year. So if you applied last year, please, you need to apply again because this is a new budget. We have to factor that into the budget. Right, and also we've got packages for indigents. Now, indigents is not just people who don't live in Brackenhurst, Brackendowns. A lot of people suddenly became indigent after the lockdown in 2020. So we provide water and sanitation 6 kiloliters free, 50 kiloliters free for electricity, free refuse removal altogether, special rates on emergency services, and 100% rebates on assessment rates. Now, the grand total that the city pays for funding indigents really comes down to this. So in between 2021, 2022, we spent 4.1 million rand, and at the adjustment budget, it's about 4.5 million rand. So that obviously is going up considerably. So we've got to always keep thinking about how we manage our funds, especially in looking after people who cannot pay for themselves. Right, capital projects for Alberton. I'm not including the entire Alberton because obviously it gives you a bigger picture as to where and how everything works. So I'm going to zoom in. Where's mine? Okay. I think my on my screen, let me just wait for my screen to give me an opportunity. Look at the bottom. Yeah, there you go. The water and sanitation, the replacing, upgrading, and extend water pipe and construction new reservoirs and towers in Alberton. So I've put it affects all wards, and I think there's ward 57 as well. So there's 10 million rand budgeted for the next 3 years. So in each year, there's 10 million rand budgeted for that upgrade. That speaks to what I've spoken to earlier. Now, we have budgeted for it, and the reason why we're not going to remove it as a top priority on our IDP is because until the day we actually see it being happening, we are not removing it. Because if we remove it from the IDP, then the department is going to say, oh, well, your sewer infrastructure is not such a priority after all. So we can take the money elsewhere. So hence it stays up there. Right? Now, the general challenges in the city. The high outstanding debt results in limited resources, making it difficult for the city to accommodate all the community needs within one financial year. I must say, this is not the case in Alberton, and this is where you can applaud yourself. And maybe, Yaku, you might applaud yourself and ask yourself why you are one of the highest paying areas in the metro, but you're not getting the services. And I've always had a problem with the fact that Alberton, every year, in terms of paying of their rates and taxes, they are the highest paying area. And yet we don't actually see that translating into services. Hopefully with the new systems that they're trying to bring budgets closer to where you pay for them, that will help a lot. So every resident must play their part in paying for their services. Obviously, you guys do that. Also, residents are encouraged to report suspected cases of fraud, corruption, and theft in the city. So obviously, that's a hotline, toll-free, 0800 102 201. So that's the hotline, the corruption hotline. You are encouraged to also help us with that. Now, this is for you to give input. You can give input in this meeting. So like the reason why I'm saying you should give input in this meeting is because you can do that, but because this is a meeting like I'm doing it, I will have to collect all the inputs from yourselves as residents. And then from there, what I will then do is then cast it together in a document to write to the IDP office to say, this is our input as Ward 38. And then unless if you want to visit the website and check the budget there, I don't think it's on the app. I think somebody was just happy to put that there. But you can also visit pay points as well as at libraries where you'll find the draft budget, where you'll see it in full, exactly way in full details. So that's where you'll find it. And the email to use for budget tips, if you see anything else other than what I'm pointing out to you, is budgettips@ekurhuleni.gov.za. So that is from my side. So I'm going to take the last questions. Gerald, you're still here. I'm going to allow you to now post your question. Gerald?
Thanks, Malcolm. Thank you for the presentation. I think much of what you have presented there answered my question because I can see where the priorities are lying for the ward. So I think, no, I'm covered adequately. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Gerald. So I'm going to take questions. I'm going to take questions from Facebook. And what I'm going to do is that for those on Zoom, you can obviously raise your hands while I take questions. So Gail Golding says Swakop is from Henny Alberts on all the way down. Okay, Gail, I think the best would be to send me the email or details of exactly where you say there's a problem. And then obviously, like, I will then address that issue with the Parks Department in terms of grant cutting. Is Ekurhuleni looking at trying to develop its own power generation? City of Cape Town is, okay. Shane Hinn, I think those were the news that came very early in December to say, we've actually, the City of Ekurhuleni has signed a contract with 47 independent power producers. And as you say, to rely less on Eskom. So that's exactly why we've signed that from them in terms of, we've signed that so that we rely less on Eskom. So we've already signed that. So like, it's not gonna happen immediately that we are reliant less. So we're gonna see with time that we're going to start relying less. For example, as you say, using Cape Town as an example, when the rest of us are on stage 4, load shedding, the City of Cape Town is able, at this stage, they still deal with load shedding, they still do have, but they've got stage 3 at least. In fact, depending on where, when we are on stage 1, the City of Cape Town has no load shedding whatsoever. So, and then Brad van Dijk says, for water system upgrading, I personally think on the Albert Street at the corner of the traffic lights, there should be water upgrading system. The reason is because when it rains, the dams, I get that. So it dams up very quickly. So I think after the sewer department or the water department does its investigations, they will be able to advise exactly where, and I'm pretty sure that will be one of the areas where they identify. And then Maruma Matibela says, why should a pensioner apply for a rebate every year whilst they are not getting younger? You now need someone to analyze the application of which that person could be used somewhere. Only new pensioners should be applying. I think what I said there, Maruma, I think you might have confused NGOs with pensioners. I specifically said NGOs need to apply every year. If pensioners do apply every year, but like also, I don't think it actually does harm. And I understand what you're saying is because remember the city must know how much they allocate for rebates. So it always helps if they all of them apply and they know, okay, this is how much we need to budget for. It always helps to do that. And then is 3 days realistic to give feedback? Mr. Maruma Matibela, I think what you may have missed in the previous days is that I have invited residents to a public meeting where this was going to be presented. And also, what I wanted to say is that the reason why I'm saying I've raised this before, unfortunately, well, I was always going to have this meeting, even after that meeting happened, is because I always believe in bringing this process even closer to the ward, because I know not people attend that process. And you can imagine that process obviously relies on a physical meeting. And this one you can literally just address at any time. Yes, thank you, Marumo Matibela. That's from my side. And then I'm going to give Tracy. Tracy, I did see you. I did recognize you. I did see that you want to speak. I was just quickly attending to the guys on Facebook. Please go ahead.
Hi, Malcolm. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Tracy.
Yes, hi Malcolm. I know that you must be tired of hearing my voice every week on your messages, but I wanted to know, we've been reporting the potholes in Christian Street for about 3 months now. The potholes are really severe. They take up almost the entire road going from Christian to Donald and Dahlia Street. Now our area, just like a kilometer around us, there is at least 8 home schools and there's Law School Orion, which is the one government school. And every single day there are most probably more than 500 cars that access this area that are driving on residents' pavements because we cannot drive in the road. It's really bad. We have sent letters to the mayor. We have sent letters, as you know, to yourself. I've put it on the COE group numerous times. The neighbor across the road from me as well, more than 10 times has put through requests for the potholes to be fixed. I saw Rion Fenter when he stopped the traffic the other morning in Henny Albus by McDonald's. There's a really bad pothole. They fixed it this morning. And I said to Rion, please, can you just go and look at our area? Because, I mean, he knows our street really well. And nothing's been done. And it's damaging people in the residents' vehicles in the streets. They basically stop to try and drive around them and not to drive on the residents' pavements. What has been done about that? Our street lights as well. I know you mentioned it earlier, but we've had requests now for months for street lights. There's 2 street lights, one in Estelle, one in Christian Street. There's also in Donald Street that don't work. And this crime has been driven up in this area, but nothing has been done. Also, the sewage that runs down Estelle Street and Christian, there's children going to Law School Orion that walk through that sewage with bare feet. They don't have shoes on. The parents park their vehicles in the streets. Every single month, as you know, we report the sewage and nothing is done. It's like they band-aid it. They're not actually fixing the true problem or the root problem. And how do we go about it? And to stop all of this, we all paid rates and taxes, as you've spoken about, but nothing's been done. What do we do? Where's our next step to go to fix all these challenges?
Tracy, so like as I've said earlier, I've unpacked much more than what I've done in previous weeks in terms of service attending to potholes.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that there was a wrong way of budgeting, in my view.
Okay.
It's literally like there's no better way, because I can tell you now, every single year since 2016, around about this time, our budget is basically depleted. There's no budget. This year is slightly better. Yeah, so this year is slightly better because even though it's better, it's not really that much better because we then have a problem with, and it's actually a reason, is that in the past few years, we have not had as much rains as we are having now. So obviously we have not had to deal with so much issues as we are dealing with right now. So like potholes never seemed like a big problem in previous years because it was easy, even with a little budget, to quickly go and fix, and then that's it. It stays fixed.
Right.
Yeah, this year obviously is a big problem. But having said that, is that it is something that we will need to obviously, that's why I said earlier on, the only other way that we can get an immediate thing is to speak to officials as well as civic organizations and businesses to try and also come in and assist. Even if there can be a business that says, no, I will assist Christian Street. That's fine. We are not looking for any magic, because like at the end of the day, if I'm gonna say let's rely on council, I can tell you we are likely only to get the budget in the next few weeks. And that's
yes,
the whole,
but it's been 3 months.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to you, is that yes, it's been 3 months, and I understand it's been 3 months. But the reality of the matter is that I'd rather give you the truth as is than tell you like, no, it's gonna be fixed tomorrow we are sorry it's taken 3 months. Like even when I'm saying 3 weeks, I don't think it's even 3 weeks, could be even longer. So what I'm saying to you is that right now, what I'm gonna, obviously, I've actually raised the portal issues that were raised yesterday. They were sent to the department today to say, okay, guys, this is a group of portals that we have outstanding right now. So like, and that's why I say it helps me also from the department side to give me actual answers. Because if they don't give me actual answers, I can't give you an actual answer. And
Can
it
I
looks
ask
like,
another question? What? Yes.
so, and then
Why are you
then,
saying that? Sorry.
hey?
No, I'm saying, why are you saying that? I just want to raise a question. So if they're going to fill one pothole, for example, like the pothole just outside McDonald's, that just past McDonald's in Henny Alberts and Ray Frankel on the right-hand side of the road. Well, it's in the left lane, but on the right-hand lane. Or the left-hand side of the road, sorry, in the right-hand lane. But if you go about 800 meters down the road on the left lane, there is a severe pothole. People have even put bricks in that pothole, and people have driven through it. You can see, and there's been severe damage to the vehicle. But why do the people that were touring that pothole this morning, why they obviously had to drive down there to Dolphinium and Henny Alberts to get out the road? Why do they not fill that pothole? They just drove past it. Do they only allocate one pothole in one specific area?
Not necessarily, like,
And
that's why
just down the road, there's another one.
So Tracy, that's why it really highlights the very little resources that I've spoken about earlier, and it's really exactly that. Because I had a long conversation with the manager at Roads in Alberton, and not in her defense, but like, shame. The only thing that I took her on was like saying, why don't you then write to me in detail? Because if you write to me in detail, then I can escalate to the city manager's office, to the HOD's office, and say, listen, this is what we need in this area. But if she doesn't give me in detail, like she's told me that she really is being cut short in Alberton, I said, well, I can't really help you if it's not in writing, because remember, when I go to the HOD, I have to have track record. So it's one of those things that, like, the thing is, right now, yes, it will be a problem, and we're having a big problem with it. But trust me, like in every single day, in fact, yesterday with the mayor, we were all saying, look, even ourselves as councillors, it's something that we don't like. It's not. We also drive on these roads which are full of potholes, and it's endangering the cars that we're traveling with. So the reality of the matter is, like, it's not an answer that you would want to hear, but I would rather give you honesty to, like, say, right now we don't have an immediate plan. That's why I'm saying to you, we're looking to include private public partnerships, even at ward level. We tried to do at metro level, but the company that wanted to assist the city of Ekurhuleni is also assisting Joburg. And Joburg also has a lot of potholes, apparently even more than what we do. So they ended up being stuck in Joburg.
Welcome.
Okay, guys, listen. Okay, I see who's trying to speak. I'm gonna allow you to speak. However, I'm gonna say this is the last person I'm going to take. I don't want us to go more than what we're going through. I also respect your family times and everybody else family times.
Yeah,
So,
Malcolm, thank you very much. One last point from my side. We're talking about short-term solutions now and trying to fix something. But as you mentioned previously, these roads hasn't seen a new surface being laid on them in 30 years. I don't think we would have had to have these type of discussions now if the roads were retaught maybe every 10 or 15 years, So it's too little, too late. What's happening here, you know? So I really, I wish, this is a wish, that there could be the right people in the right positions making the right decisions at the right time. Then we will not have to deal with all of these things and trying to find quick fixes and short-term solutions, Malcolm. You know, it's a question that I have a long time in my head. When are they actually going to retar our roads? Then we wouldn't even have to discuss heavy rains and unusual acts of God or whatever.
You're completely right. I think one of the things that I've always asked, even from 2016, is say, okay, number one, retiring of roads. And secondly, regular sweeping of roads. Because if you do those two things regularly, potholes will not be an issue. Well, maybe after a few years, but not really as regular as you would have it. And you're 100% correct, because unfortunately right now, I mean, my push was thinking, okay, I'm gonna push for resurfacing of roads. But now that also almost has to take a back seat, because now we've got an immediate problem of potholes. Before I can say, let's resurface, I first have to, oh, wait, let's first do potholes, and then we start identifying streets, prioritizing them for resurfacing. But yeah, guys, I don't mind, you know, like chatting, but like, I think, you know, we need to also allow ourselves to, you know, like have a good evening. Thank you for coming through. It's really been always good to hear from residents as well. I know, Tracy, like you might think that I get tired. I actually don't get tired. I get tired of not being answered by departments. That's what I get tired of, not you raising issues. So that's what gets me tired. But I want to wish you all a very good evening, and thank you for attending. And I want to also say to everyone who attended on Facebook, thank you so much for joining us live from Facebook. It's great that you could also take part on your side. Yeah, so I think, so like, right, okay. Karen just asked for the details of pothole filling stuff so we can maybe fill some potholes ourselves. Karen, I think you can also write to me and really just to remind me as well. Yeah. So, and I do give.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Okay, bye.